Let us begin. I'll rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we'll begin with roll call. Mr. Robertson?
Here.
Mrs. Hopkins?
Here.
Mr. Ferris?
Here.
Mr. Rosemont is absent. And Mr. Jansma is here. 4 members are present. We have a quorum established. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Approve.
Support.
Motion by Hopkins, supported by Robertson, to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Approved 4-0. Next, I will entertain an agenda to approve the minutes of the August 10th, 2023 meeting with the addition of the date at the top.
Motion to approve. I'll support.
Excuse me, motion by Robertson, supported by Ferris, to approve as presented with the addition of the date. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 4-0. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing for a special use permit for High Cloud LLC. First, the chair would like to make a statement on the purpose and process for this evening's hearing. The purpose of today's public hearing is for an existing marijuana facility currently operating in Newfield Township to present information regarding their facility and to hear information regarding their request for a special use permit for their parcel. Tonight's hearing will allow residents of Newfield Township and the wider public an opportunity to voice their concerns and words of support or opposition, as well as to ask questions of the applicant. The applicant will be given 5 minutes to share information pertaining to the application and their facility. Following the presentation, there will be approximately 15 minutes allotted for public questions and comments. Questions posed by residents will be answered by the applicant and limited to a 3-minute time frame. Please keep your questions short and to the point to allow the maximum number of speakers to participate. In keeping with the rules for public hearings, please wait to be called on by the chair. Please state your name and address for the record. Proper decorum shall be maintained at all times by all parties present. The chair will not tolerate yelling, cursing, or interrupting of other speakers. The chair asks for kind and respectful tones and words. Speakers will be recognized only one time unless the chair determines additional comments are warranted and time remains. Please do not seek to establish a dialogue with the applicant. All questions should be submitted through the chair. You will be permitted to ask questions through the chair and the applicant granted an opportunity to answer. When time allotted for comment has expired, the speaker on their feet will be permitted to finish their comment and the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. 4 letters were received by the commission in opposition to the application. 2 of the letters are from neighbors of the property and 2 from other residents of the township. Copies of these letters have been made available to the commission, and I will take note the strong objections made in one of the letters. With that, let us begin. The applicant is High Cloud LLC. Andre, I see, is here. Your time begins now.
Here we are again. We started this building next door. I purchased the property right next to where we are at 7655 East M20. It's an additional 40 acres. We applied earlier this year to expand the grow and the dry space due to like last year we built a lab and we didn't have enough material to process through the lab, so we wanted to add the extra 40 acres. We've done the building. All we need to do is just hopefully get it to zone commercial or get a special use permit for commercial, basically. That's why we're here today. I see you guys over there again. I'm not sure if Draper has any questions. I would like to take any questions he's got or any concerns. Seems to be here every time we're here. Do you have any questions for me, man?
No, I think I have a good understanding of what's going on.
Okay, cool. All right, that's it.
Okay, thank you. We'll turn now to public comment in the hearing on the special use permit. Does anyone wish to make a comment this evening or ask a question? Mrs. Rumsey.
My question is, I came by there about a week ago, and my understanding from meeting during this spring or summer, that there were to be trees planted. Well, the dirt appears to be brought in and it's been sitting there, and now it's all grown up to weeds, which makes that very unattractive for people traveling back and forth by. I'm not a neighbor there, but when I drive by, I thought that was part of what you had referenced earlier, that there was going to be trees planted, and that's what's supposed to be there. So I'd like to know if that's because everything's being reported that everything there's no citations or anything. Now, whether that's a citation or not, I don't know, but to me, those trees should be planted.
You can only plant trees early spring or late fall.
I plant them anytime.
And I'm sure there's probably about $25,000 in trees. I'd like to have them, survive.
But wasn't they supposed to be in when started out the operation?
No. I asked, please don't establish a dialogue, questions through me. Thank you. I appreciate your question. I appreciate the answer. Mr. Draper, I saw you had your hand up. Do you have anything else to add?
Yes, so a question, I guess, on the order of things. I do have public comments directed to you guys. Is that going to be for now, or should that be later? Before I would like it, obviously, before I can vote.
Now's good.
Okay, sure. So one thing I would say is the notice for the public hearing was pretty vague. There'd be, you need more clarification for informed opinions. The notice was for high altitude commercial activity in an R1 zone. It didn't specify what kind of commercial activity. Everyone is here knows, what kind it is. And then the R1 zone, we know that's residential, but half the people in the township probably wouldn't know what R1 zone means. So
to that, not trying to interrupt, there's a formula for how you write those.
Sure.
And this is, it's the basic of what they're asking.
Yep.
So that's just what we went on.
Yep.
In the future, the postings are getting longer and longer as we go along.
Yep,
but
understood.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Next.
Depending on the type of commercial activity, would depend on whether I'd be opposed to it or not. And obviously with that type, I am opposed to it. In our ordinance, residential zone, it defines it as the purpose of the R1 district is to encourage the establishment and preservation of residential neighborhoods characterized by single-family buildings on large and medium-sized lots. This commercial activity obviously would not be promoting that. And even if everyone was on board, yep, give them a special use permit. Nevada, could you hand those out, please? I think there's some legal hurdles there. So what she's handed out, the first page is the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, an excerpt from that, which is where you get the authority to have a zoning ordinance. And when it comes to special land uses, it says the zoning ordinance shall specify all of the following, and one of the things is the special land uses and activities eligible for approval. And then on the next page, we've done that in this ordinance. So in our ordinance under the R1 district, special uses, we spelled it out just like the Zoning Enabling Act says, and we allow for public and semi-public uses such as public and private schools, churches, recreation areas, and parks. And then earth shelter dwellings, which they define as, an underground house. Those are the items that you can get a special use permit for in a residential zone according to our ordinance. So, none of those, obviously marijuana establishment doesn't fall under that. So there would be some potential legal ramifications there. And I do realize, it was a gravel pit at a commercial, a special use permit there. And if you look in Article 11 under gravel pits, that's even prohibited to have a special use permit in a residential zone, but nobody complained about it, nobody cared. Including me, I live right next door to it, it doesn't bother me, but. And that's what I've got for you.
Okay, thank you. We still have time remaining. Does anybody else wish to enter a comment? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Donna Hollowell, and I live right down the road from it. But I have a question, and
But for the commission or for the applicant?
no, I have a question.
Okay.
I thought that there was no more permits to be allowed.
So the permits are issued based on the number of plants to be grown. There are no more of the Class C permits available. This is not an application for a grow permit. This is an application to use land for the cultivation of marijuana. It's not additional plants.
Okay, I thought that's what was in question.
No, this is for a special use of land zoned residential. It's nothing to do with the number of plants, nothing to do with the amount of,
But that's
with production.
coming, right?
No. The applicant has the maximum number of licenses. There are no more to give out. Thank you.
To clarify, the idea was that was proposed, actually this hearing is more about the storage barn. Right now, the storage barn can only be used for storing tractors and implements. The applicant wants to be able to dry the flowers in that barn, because the current barn that he has now been taken up with the processing equipment to make the oils, so that there's not room for drying in the existing barn.
But this would also allow next year for him to put the plants spaced farther apart, which would give him more room, more acreage to do so.
And more space between plants allows them, just like your garden, allows them to grow bigger and yield better. Wayne, you had a,
Well, that's what I wanted to
okay.
express was that. But he also has the ability for access grow permits.
And that's nothing we have control over.
That's true,
So,
but more
yep.
plants can be planted. We have no control over that.
Correct.
No, but he has the right to apply to the state for access grow permits and plant more plants.
If he so chooses. Mrs. Rumsey.
This has already been approved, I understand, but going back when he wanted the permit for the building, there was the whole conversation about not being able to store product, and he said, no, I wasn't gonna store product, it was for his equipment.
Yes.
But now that's all changed since he got that approved, now we're going to move to now we can store product in it.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
But that was basically the intention from the very start. He wanted to be able to build it with down the road with the hopes of being able to store product and produce product on that property. He wanted to get his building built. He wanted to get the site plan approved.
Okay, then my last question to you is going back to my first question.
Yes.
If they were supposed to have the trees planted in the get-go, why has it been there a few years and it's still not completed? And our marijuana enforcer is continuously reporting that everything is in order.
Can I ask, have you ordered your trees yet?
We did, so what happened is we did plant trees, okay? Now we covered those trees with that berm that you guys want. Now, when the contractor found the time to put the berm up, it was too hot to plant any trees.
It was very
Especially
dry.
with no root ball, right? So we have Christmas trees that are 6 footers to go in there, because if anything bigger than that, I need 100 trees. It would be
Right.
$100,000 in trees.
I'm just saying,
6-foot trees.
He has started the process when we asked him to start the process or action would be taken.
Yep.
This spring.
So I did drive by there this morning. Not driving a school bus anymore. I don't get out that way very often. My commute takes me the opposite direction. By a happy accident, I left the house 15 minutes earlier than I needed to this morning, drove by the property and did notice that the weeds have grown up and it is looking a little bit scrubby, for lack of a better term, but time for everything. Time is not now.
But I go back to, the final thing is, I go back to, it's not the first year that they've been there. So, back to day one, there was little seedlings planted that I could see. So we're now a couple years into it, and still, and I've had some of the neighbors ask me about it. Yeah, they're supposed to be there. So when people are traveling through our township, through the county, going back and forth to the lake and everything all summer, this is what they're seeing and this is what we're allowing.
As long as there is a plan and receipts for the things that have been purchased, and if it's not a feasible time to plant them, like the middle of July is the absolute worst time of the year besides the middle of February to plant trees, as long as there's a corrective action plan in place, it's one of those, it needs to be done. It's not respectfully, our responsibility to check up on that. But I will be sure to forward your concerns along.
But what does our marijuana enforcer do then? If he's not
that's not our function. That is a function for the township board. You'll have an opportunity later to speak with them about it. Mr. Draper,
So
last question, by the way.
That's fine,
Okay.
that's fine. One thing that obviously you could say, okay, we're operating here, we're not allowing expansion until you're in compliance with the ordinance. And that would be a no-brainer to me. I mean, any business, I'm in the compliance work in industry all over the place, and yet you're not gonna expand if you're not in compliance. We'll help you get into compliance, but anyway, that's all I got.
I got a question.
Andre for rebuttal.
Okay, I did have trees there to be compliant. Now, you wanted a berm, I put you a berm up, and spending money to get trees. I'm not gonna plant trees in the middle of July. There's nobody that will guarantee the life of the tree for me. So if I spend that amount of money on a tree, it better live.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna spend money
Compliance
on
is
trees.
6-foot natural screening, you never had 6-foot natural screening.
So I have 8-foot screening, better than probably most farms in Michigan, okay? No one's went the extra mile to put a fully metal fence on, I did, okay? So, and then I also put a berm there, so we can put trees that will be from the ground, from the base, at least 10, maybe more feet tall. So I'm doing all that. I was compliant. I still am compliant. You made me put a berm up, and I did. Okay, so
Compliance is 6-foot tall natural screening. You've never ever had 6-foot tall natural.
Please do not establish a dialogue. I'm not. Okay.
yeah, I'm done.
Okay. That said, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll support it.
Motion by Robertson, supported by Ferris to adjourn the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 4-0. Do we need to take a recess? Moving right along. Okay. Under communications and correspondence, as I said in my statement before the hearing, I did receive 4 letters in opposition to this application. 2 of them from neighbors directly of the parcel, 2 from other residents of the township. I also received a email from, they didn't put their name on it, how kind of them, from a representative of the Cannabis Regulatory Agency for the state of Michigan. I asked, and I will read my email, what I asked, and then their response. So my name is Michael, I'm the Planning Commission Chairman for Newfield Township, Oceana County. We have a hearing scheduled for Thursday evening in regard to High Cloud LLC, an already licensed establishment operating in our township. They have purchased a plot of land that is zoned R1 residential. We have, on advice of council, prepared a special use permit for this parcel for the operators to process and store marijuana on that parcel. Our attorney has indicated that he spoke with a member of the agency, said the agency would defer to the township's judgments on this matter. My question is whether or not a special use permit is sufficient to allow that business to operate on that parcel in the eyes of the agency and the state. We will undoubtedly receive pushback from neighbors to the proposed parcel on this issue, as well as the wider public. Having something from the agency I can take back to our meeting would be extremely helpful in approving the special use permit. Any guidance you can provide would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Michael Jansma, Planning Commission Chair, Newfield Township. I received Wednesday, September 6, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. I did not expect to receive it until about 4 o'clock today. Good morning. This is something we refer to the township on. As part of the Step 2 application process, attestation 2C must be completed by the applicant attesting they are in compliance with ordinances the municipality has adopted relating to establishments, including zoning regulations. In addition, once a complete Step 2 application is received, the agency sends a municipal notification email. This email is to allow the municipality to notify the agency of any non-compliance issues surrounding the applicant and the proposed location of the establishment. If the municipality does not notify the agency of any non-compliance, the Cannabis Regulatory Agency moves forward with issuing the license. Best regards, the application section of the licensing division of the Cannabis Regulatory Agency. So that was received yesterday. And then we all received the packet from Mr. Draper. Did anyone else receive any communications or correspondence for this evening?
Yes.
Mr. McNamara.
For exactly for this evening, but topical to the fact that we have the master plan project ongoing.
Yeah.
If you review your township news magazine from the MTA, Michigan Township Association, this month's cover story was about recreation and quality of life issues in townships, which I think goes quite a bit along with what was discussed both at the visioning session that we had, and it will be covered in both the online survey and our public input sessions coming up. And so I just suggest people read their latest edition.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
For what, comment
Just
on that?
our communications and correspondence. Okay. I do not have anything currently under old business other than the survey for the master plan is ready and will be ready for supplementation and dissemination on cleanup day, which is this Saturday. I beat you to it. From 8 until 1 or until the dumpsters are full. Moving on to new business, we have the special use permit application for High Cloud LLC. Copies of that application are right here. Thank you. You're welcome. So, based on a lot of information that's been thrown at us in very quick succession, I personally do not have issue with storage and processing if so desired, but storage in that parcel. I do not personally have an issue with cultivation on that parcel. The advice of council, wording this carefully, that was received was to use a special use permit in lieu of rezoning, because when or if the applicant ceases operations, the permit expires and it goes back to normal use, rather than having to undertake the costly procedure of re- or unrezoning the parcel. That's the way I understand it. The correspondence from the Cannabis Regulatory Agency deferring to the township on whether or not a special use permit, which does in effect temporarily change the zoning of the parcel without doing so permanently. However, going back to the handout that Mr. Draper gave us, second page, Article 5 of the Township Zoning Ordinance does specifically tell you what special uses in the R1 district are, but it does not expressly prohibit any other special use. I know we have in residential area, we have an automotive business that's operating in a residential one. We have another gravel pit operating in residential one. Technically another gravel mining business operating in R1, even though they aren't doing anything with it. So, excuse me a moment while I just read. Okay, doesn't apply to what I'm thinking right now. There is in the MRTMA, MCL 333.27959, section 9, paragraph 3, line C. Doesn't really apply to the township, applies to the state, but state's not gonna issue a license unless we attest that we don't have an issue. And we still haven't received anything from council on.
No,
No.
we did not. To back this up, Joan and I called John Schreier, our township attorney, about this issue, along with some other things that we wanted to go through with him. And he gave us the advice that we should do this via a special use permit rather than a rezoning, and his reasoning was that if we rezone, you have now changed our zoning map. You made a blip in there. And he thought it's much better to keep the zoning map the same and have a special use so that, as you said, Mike, if they no longer maintain operations, it goes back to its original zoning. You're not locked in permanently. Special use permits can be rescinded, which the zoning cannot be. So that was his reasoning. He did not send us an email. I have requested 4 times to get a written response from him. I have not received anything. I have called, and that's a whole nother story.
Okay, so we ran into this issue before in the spring, where on paper, according to the law, it was not at the time with our understanding permissible. With the understanding that a special use permit effectively changes the zoning of the parcel for that operation, and the fact that our job is merely advisory, we can only make a recommendation. Our decisions are not binding. That's for the township board. So, that said, remembering our purpose under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, etc., I will entertain a motion to approve the special use permit application.
I've got more to say on this.
We can, in the discussion for the motion.
Okay.
That's where, I'll entertain a motion to approve the special use permit application for High Cloud LLC with the restriction that, that the ordinance be adhered to as soon as is feasible in regards to the natural screening and the berm and keeping it up.
Support.
Motion by Jansma, supported by Robertson.
Support.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion by Robertson, supported by Hopkins. I asked to entertain the motion. Any discussion?
I'd like to discuss some more of this, because I don't
Yep.
understand what changed, what attorney did we first talk to? Is it the one that you talked to now again? Why did his mindset change from, it's,
No, it was a different attorney.
yeah, it's a different attorney now?
That attorney has since left the firm. Am I
Okay,
right?
But
It was the same firm, but
It's the
two
same
different
firm.
attorneys within the firm.
Right.
okay.
So
And
we
if
went to the
this,
senior attorney.
so this is our attorney that we are, or the firm that we have
Same
already,
firm that we have
It
had.
was the same firm giving us
That-
both.
we pay for, if we go to court, they represent us. All right? But the MRTA section 9.3C hasn't been changed. I mean, that's still on the books as law.
Correct.
So unless somebody contests this in court, nothing's gonna happen. But it can be contested in court. I mean, I don't want everybody thinking that this is a done deal, if nobody wants to, contest it, that it can be contested in court.
Yep, the understanding that we have is under the law, a special use permit effectively, temporarily changes the zoning of the parcel without going through a full rezoning, changing the map, which is, well, it's revocable in the sense that we would have to then undertake to rescind it at such time as it's no longer. Special use permits are a whole lot easier to rescind.
I understand that part of it, but it specifically tells you you can't approve this in a residential zoned area.
A special use permit would effectively change it from R1 to either it would remove the R1 zoning, which would make it AR1.
And then in that respect, I would rather be more comfortable if we rezone the entire R1 district, which we're going to be doing, could be done in our new zoning and master plan. This is a village of Hesperia, and I don't see expansion going that far anytime soon. I think we were over aggressive in zoning R1 that far west. I would prefer to see R1 brought back to 192nd, north and south.
Or even further away, even back to 198 here.
Well, like I said, it's awful aggressive to go that far out.
Absolutely. All of the farmland here
That's what I was gonna
is
get to.
is R1.
Return it back to
Not agricultural.
AR1, return it back to AR1. And then if you want special use permits, those are easier to put into that area without having a big fight.
Well, how long has it been R1?
2008?
I would guess at least, 2008.
Well, that was the last time it was
Down back in
drawn,
there,
so.
right.
When
That's
was
what
the
I'm
last time when the entire master plan was changed and the last time there was zoning?
At least I feel we would get out of legality with this MRTA section 9.
Well, sorry, can I make a comment?
You may.
On top of that, if our ordinance specifically states what a special use permit is applicable to in a residentially zoned district,
So what do we do with all the ones that are currently already in operation?
that's a question.
It also, and unless it says it anywhere else, which I would have to get the full ordinance book out and fall asleep reading it, it does not specifically say these are the only, and it does not say, other uses excluded. I think it's giving, I don't want to say it's giving suggestions, it's giving uses, but they aren't, it's not exclusive, it's not, these are the only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you can use it for.
We've
That would
already
be,
admitted that there's gray areas in the
Correct.
county that we want taken care of. We've already admitted that.
so my question, that's not something we can accomplish.
Andre, you're not able to plant anything this year, even if you had to wait.
I would like to try if I could. If I could try, I mean, the place has got cameras, it's got it all in there, if I could try, that would be helpful.
There's a stipulation.
Okay,
It won't be used for drying only at present until
We
we.
might be a year into the master
I
plan.
said, well, master plan?
Master plan was at least a year undertaking. That puts him into another planting
another
season.
season.
Okay.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I would suggest that you could approve, I mean, obviously Andre's to some degree at a crisis point, if I understand him correctly. that he doesn't have any place else to dry.
Right, I understand.
And-
And we're fast approaching the
I spoke to
time.
you about that
And-
before.
and that, one can modify a special use permit, and we have done that previously. So my suggestion would be one, if you will, at least temporary solution or compromise solution would be to approve the special use for the storage and drying in that barn. And then in the, over the winter, we will have more meetings.
Yep.
And we can revisit Andre's special use permit. He can ask for a modification, and then go from there. If I understand correctly, Andre, the field part is still not even cleared out from Beckman's stuff.
Honestly, it's and I feel like I spent quite a bit of money, and, if I were to get it approved today, I mean, I can have them on it and get it all cleared out, but, put a fence and do all that good stuff, but again, it is not cleared out yet. It's about, I'd say maybe 40%
Okay.
cleared out. That's not an issue though, it won't take long to clear it out, but like I said, we're not growing anything anytime soon on that property. I would like to, at the very least, if I can use it to,
Okay.
that would really be helpful too, because we can get everything off the field, pretty fast.
All right, I will, thank you. I will rescind my motion, and I will instead make a motion to approve the special use permit for High Cloud LLC as follows. The building may be used for the storage, drying, and processing of plants, so long as the ordinance is followed in its entirety, as soon as is practicable. Did I go slow enough for you?
I'm trying. It's recorded, I can go
Okay.
back.
Is the building fenced in perimeter currently yet?
The building is not fenced in. Original plan was supposed to cut the fence and connect it to the corner of the building.
Yep.
And then continue from the other corner of the building, which would be in the west side corner of the building, along the whole
Right,
site, basically.
right, basically according to your site.
So, yeah, no, the building is not fenced in, and,
That'll
the
have to
building
be,
is pretty secure. We do have a camera system up already.
well, it would have to be fenced.
Not necessarily. I mean, the building it's its own. It's like.
But if the building contains marijuana, it needs to be fenced in, as far as I understand in the ordinance.
I mean, look, the building a fence doesn't take long.
Right.
Well, no,
But my understanding is, there's a lot of indoor grows out
Yes.
there that don't have fenced in. I don't think that would be a state law. Maybe,
I believe it's our ordinance.
That's our
It's our ordinance.
That's our ordinance.
Yeah, that would be a different story.
And that would be something you would need to double and triple check on with Mr. Mickman. All right, so I will repeat my motion. I will make a motion to approve the special use permit for High Cloud LLC with the following stipulations: that the building only be used for the storage and processing of marijuana and/or equipment. Growth is not on the table at this time, as long as the remainder of the ordinance is followed fully followed as soon as is practicable. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Jansma, supported by Ferris. I'm not going to say it all over again. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion approves 4-0. Moving on to commissioners' discussion. Just that, what I said in old business, that the survey is ready, and we are going to be handing out the information starting on cleanup day, which is this Saturday, beginning at 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. or until the dumpsters are full. This spring we made it to 11:30 and the dumpsters were full, so let's try and beat that time, 11:25.
Can we reiterate cleanup day is on Saturday. This Saturday, September 9th, beginning at 8 o'clock, dumpsters will be arriving at 7, so people can't cheat on that and throw stuff in the day early. And of course, volunteers are always cheerfully accepted.
Anyone else have anything they need to discuss? All right. Last chance for public comments. Does anyone wish to address the commission this evening? Okay, then I will move on to recommendations to the Township Board. The recommendation of the Newfield Township Planning Commission is to approve the special use permit for High Cloud LLC with the stipulation of the building being used for the storage and drying and processing of equipment, or of marijuana, and storage of equipment, as long as all the remainder of the ordinance is followed as soon as it's practicable. Growth is not on the table. I don't think we have anything else to recommend to the board. Okay. Then in that case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Hopkins, supported by Robertson to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed. Meeting adjourned at 7:11 p.m.